Hello, 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 everyone. My name is Ardina Downing. I am a therapist with the West Dallas Youth and Family Center, and I am proud to present Mental Health 101 for today's Fam Jam. I hope everyone's doing well, and I hope we're all going to learn something today, and I'm excited to be here. So let's get it started. Okay, so what is mental health? Okay, so these are the objectives. We're going to talk about what mental health is. We're going to talk about what influences our mental health, what helps our mental health, what hurts it, signs that our mental health is declining or getting worse, and what resources are available to us to support us when we're talking about mental health in general. So, what is mental health? So, generally, it's our overall physical, psychological, emotional, and social well being. It includes how we feel, how we think, and how we act. And it also includes our social relationships. So, how we relate to others, how we handle and deal with stress, and how we make healthy choices. So, our mental health is essentially a part of our everyday life. It impacts all different parts of our life. And so it is very important. And sometimes it is neglected and separated from our physical health, but in all, it really should be included. So what are some things that influences our mental health? And when I say influences, I mean what has an impact on our mental health. So our needs, what our needs are. So what are some basic needs when we think about things like having shelter or having water or having love? If we don't have those things, it definitely influences our mental health. And when we do have those things, it influences our mental health in a positive way. Biology. So when we think about our biology, our makeup. So some of us may have parents or grandparents or uncles or aunts that may have mental health disorders, or in some cases, they're disabled mentally. And so sometimes those things are passed down to us. It's not something we choose, it's just something we happen. Just kind of like we can inherit brown eyes or blue eyes or a certain type of hair texture, certain personality characteristics. We can also be influenced by our biology when it comes to mental health. Another thing is life experiences. So, life is an ebb and flow of ups and downs. And so, we have times in our life where we're thriving and things are going well and okay. We feel supported. So, we may ask ourselves, how does that impact our mental health? Usually, when we have those positive life experiences, our mental health is impacted in a good way. Essentially, we feel good about what's happening around us. However, we all know that life happens. And when I say life happens, that means transitions, changes, sometimes things that may happen unexpectedly. You weren't anticipating it or you weren't expecting it to happen. There could be a job loss. Something may happen at school that may impact your grades. Someone may try to hurt you. So, those are some examples of life experiences that can definitely impact and influence our mental health. And a lot of times it can do that in a negative way. We may feel different, and that's normal. And so, I want to say, before we go on, whether we're talking about our needs or biology or life experiences or anything else, a lot of times these different things can naturally impact our mental health. It's not something we necessarily choose, it just happens. So, next, health status and habits. So, if we're in a pretty healthy place, whether it's something like we're working on ourselves, like whether we're engaged in sports or we're able bodied, so we're able to move around the way we want to, we don't have disabilities or any barriers that prevent us from doing what we need to do in a physical way. Our health is good overall, like I don't have any issues with breathing, or I don't have any issues with sleeping. When we talk about health, status, sorry, when we talk about health status, we're just talking about how our physical body and even our mental health, our brain is able to function in a way that is healthy for us. Our habits. So when we think about what are our habits? So am I getting enough sleep? Am I eating enough? Am I allowing myself to rest? Or am I stressing myself out? So when our health status is compromised or when there's something negative going on with our health status, and it can be influenced by life experiences. So if I was in a car accident and something happened to my arms, where before I was able to throw a baseball and now I can't, that's definitely going to impact your mental health. And once again, sometimes our health status is impacted by things that we don't choose. Social connections. This is really important. So, as human beings, we do not thrive in isolation. And when I say isolation, I mean we don't thrive in being by ourselves and being alone. Is it important to have those moments to ourselves? Yes. But in general, human beings are social. So our friendships, okay? Who are your friends? Who are the people around you? Are they supportive of you? Are they bullying? Are they putting you down? Are they there with you during difficult times? Are they there with you during happy times? So who are consistent people, people who are there for you? This also impacts family ships. So, who is my family? Do I live with my family? Do I have access to people in my family? Is my family healthy? Are they loving? Do I have challenges? And of course, we all have challenges sometimes when it comes to family, but overall, do I feel supported and loved by my family? So, when we think about our friendships and our family ships, when we think about those two types of social connection, that definitely can impact our mental health. One other thing I want to kind of add along with family ships and friendships is the concept of social media, because sometimes social media can definitely impact our mental health. Sometimes in a positive way, we see nice videos, things that make us laugh, or it can be a negative way. So if we notice someone's bullying or someone's trying to hurt someone through social media, that can definitely influence our mental health. And then lastly, environment. So what does our environment look like? Do we have an environment that's open, healthy, cheerful, clean, safe? Or are we in an environment that makes us feel icky inside or makes us feel like we're not clean, we're not safe? So take a look around in your environment and kind of think to yourself, how does this influence how I feel? How does this influence how I think? How does this influence how I behave? So if you look inside my environment, as you can see, I have toys and everything. And it's pretty organized for the most part. So when I think of my environment here at work, I feel safe and I feel empowered to help people. And that definitely positively impacts my mental health. Okay, so now we're going to talk a bit about what helps our mental health. So there are definitely things that hurt it, and we'll get to that, but what helps us? So once again, when we think about how we think, we feel, we act. So social connectedness, helping others, having positive, healthy relationships. When we're able to help others, that tells us that our mental health is increasing because there's a sense of purpose, there's a sense of community, you feel a sense of belonging, that you're a part of something greater or bigger than you, and that you're connected to other people. A lot of times that also kind of shows that there's some common ground, meaning that the people that I'm around and that I'm connecting with, they have similar experiences to me. And that usually helps us feel better when we feel like we're not alone. Okay, healthy relationships. So not just family ships, friendships, but if we are in an intimate relationship as well. So if we have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or whoever, are we in a healthy relationship? Do we feel loved and supported by that person? Are we able to have fun? Are we able to have fun with that person? So those types of situations, they definitely help increase and help our mental health in a positive way. Are we taking care of our physical health? So we know the opposite of that. One way we can tell our mental health is declining is when we just don't have the motivation. We don't care about ourselves as much. We just don't want to take care of ourselves. So when we're taking care of our physical health, that means that we have the energy, we have the drive, and we have the motivation to take care of who we are. It means our physical bodies are important to us. So that is definitely something that helps our mental health. It can be something as simple as a nice shower. It can be something as simple as a nice meal, getting a decent amount of sleep, taking a nap. Sometimes when we are able to do things like take a nap, that can change our whole day. We may have been cranky before the nap, may have been angry, or also hungry. So sometimes just taking a nap and getting a snack or a meal can change our mental health, where we feel more centered, we feel happier, and we feel more stable. Feeling safe and comfortable. So this is definitely a big one. Safety means different things to different people. But essentially, when we feel comfortable around people, we feel comfortable in our environments, it helps our mental health because it allows us to see that we are doing well. We are in a place where we have support, we have energy, we feel like we can be ourselves. And so it's definitely important to be comfortable and safe. That definitely helps our mental health. Challenging the brain. So while we're in school, we're always learning new skills and learning new information. Our brains thrive off of new information and being challenged. We're all intelligent human beings and we need challenge and we need skill development. So, learning new things, trying new things out, exploring. So, anytime we come across a new activity or a new skill or a new piece of information, our brains are going to soak that in and say, what do I do with this? And sometimes the brain may say, I like to try that experience again. When I do that, it makes me feel good, makes me feel safe, makes me feel happy. So I'm going to set that aside and, hopefully we'll do that again. But also with learning new information. And this can be even new information about yourself. So when we learn new things about ourselves, we're able to take a step back and think, I learned that I really do well over here and that sometimes I struggle over here. So what are my strengths? What are things that maybe I should focus my energy more on? And we learn this through challenging ourselves and challenging our brain to try different things. Also developing and using coping skills to manage life's challenges. So coping skills are things that we do to help us feel different, help us feel better, feel safe when we're having challenges. As I mentioned before, life has ups and downs, and we're going to always experience some sort of challenge. So what are things that I can do on my own or even with the help of others that can help us get through whatever this challenge is? So when we have a good amount of coping skills, it definitely helps our mental health because we feel capable and we feel confident that we're able to overcome those challenges and changes. The next one kind of goes back to feeling safe and comfortable. So being honest and open with safe people about our thoughts and feelings. So identifying in terms of who's within your social circle. So that social connectedness piece. Who's within your social circle that you actually trust and you feel safe with, that when you may have challenges, or even if you're wanting to share something positive, you feel comfortable doing that. Us having someone alongside of us as we kind of express ourselves can definitely help our mental health because it helps us feel valued and cared for. Setting boundaries. So a boundary is essentially a barrier, and we hope that it can be flexible, but it's pretty much a barrier to prevent things that should not come in from coming in. So when you look around my office, there are barriers here or boundaries. The walls are boundaries. So the walls in this office keep me from the elements of the outside, right? It's cold outside. So I'm grateful that there are walls here. And so a boundary can help our mental health, and that once again, it can keep things out that doesn't need to be there. And then therapy. So I'm a therapist. And so, of course, I'm going to always recommend therapy. That's always going to be something that I'm going to root for and encourage people to do. And so I will say that sometimes people don't necessarily need therapy. Sometimes with some of these other things, them feeling safe and comfortable, them experiencing challenges, them having coping skills and setting boundaries, them being around people they love and care for, sometimes that's enough. But sometimes we need help. We need someone to be there with us who's not related to us, someone who is going to help us in a different way. And that's still a part of community. So therapy can definitely help our mental health and also teach us some of these boundaries or teach us skill development or how to feel safe and comfortable in appropriate environments. Other things that helps our mental health. So connecting to our body, doing exercises that calm and strengthen the body. So people talk about yoga, breathing, athletic activities, sometimes just a simple stretch. So like stretching your arms out or just standing up for a moment and stretching, connecting to our bodies, letting our bodies know that they're valued. We live in this body every day, and the more we take care of the body and are connected to the body, the better our mental health is. Um, Mental and physical distraction activities. So like those physical distractions, it could be a stretch. It could be taking a jog. It could be engaging in a challenging new activity that tests your physical abilities. Mental activities that are distractions. So we all do that every day, whether we're aware of it or not. When we're on our phone, when we're listening to music, if we're drawing, if we're dancing, those are all distraction activities. Watching TV. Sometimes we just need a mental and physical break away from whatever those challenges may be. That can definitely help our mental health. I will say with this one, though, that that is a way of coping. So mental and physical distraction activities are a way of coping. However, we don't want to use that 100% of the time. Sometimes we actually do have to face the challenges or the circumstances that are impacting our mental health in a negative way. Gratitude. So essentially being thankful, being grateful for the things that we do have. When our mental health is declining, oftentimes we're really focused on, I don't have this, or I don't have that, or this is going an awful way, etc. But when we're taking the time to look at small positive things, that can help our mental health greatly. Challenging and replacing unhelpful thought patterns. So one way of kind of looking at that is, I had a really bad day yesterday. I failed my test. And so an unhelpful thought pattern with that is, I'm never going to pass this next test. I'm never going to get ahead. I'm always going to fail. I'm always going to do terrible. And so how we challenge those thought patterns is, well, you know what? Today's a new day. I can try. What resources and help is available to me so that I can try? Telling ourselves that we're capable. So we have to be our own cheerleaders. And so, of course, helping our mental health includes saying positive things to ourselves and identifying, well, if I'm having difficulty in this area, what can I do to make sure that I do better next time? As a human being, we make mistakes, but we can always do better. Engaging in healthy activities you enjoy. So What are some things that you like to do? So, do you like to draw? Do you like to paint? Video games sometimes may help. Not all the time, but having moments and setting boundaries with that. I like to read. I'm going to take an hour to read today. I'm going to take an hour to go to the park. I'm going to take an hour to maybe play on a video game. So, identifying healthy activities that you enjoy. Humor. Oh my gosh, humor is probably one of my favorite things. There's an old saying that is laughter is medicine for the soul. Humor is such an important part of who we are and being connected to people and just feeling good, like a good belly laugh. That signals our brain, like, you know what, we're doing okay. So, humor is definitely something that can help our mental health. Allowing grace and flexibility. So, I love this one because we have to give ourselves grace and flexibility. What I mean by that is we essentially have to give ourselves benefit of the doubt. So we're human beings. As I mentioned before, we're going to make choices. There are going to be mistakes. How do I work through this? And how do I not beat myself up to the point that I don't feel like I can try again? So being gracious to yourself, being flexible, understanding that life throws stuff at us all the time. So by you being flexible and understanding that, that will help you greatly long term. Life cannot be black and white. Sometimes gray matters. What are some things that hurt our mental health? Trauma. And trauma is essentially when we have a situation or a set of situations or circumstances that overwhelms our ability to cope. And so when we experience trauma, it definitely hurts us and our mental health can decline. And trauma can be a variety of different things. It can be like a car accident, it can be abuse, it can be an environmental thing. So, like when we had the Texas winter storm, for some people that really traumatized them being cold or not having power. So, there's a lot of different ways of a person experiencing trauma, and it can definitely hurt our mental health. Negative social interactions. So, when we think of things like bullying, or we think of not being supported, not being heard. Ongoing stress. Oh my goodness, that is such a big one. So, stress is a part of life, and some stress is healthy. But if we're consistently experiencing stress day after day after day, and things just keep piling on and piling on and piling on, and we don't have coping skills, we feel like we don't have resources or support, it can definitely hurt our mental health. Substance abuse. So remember how I said, having healthy coping and um, activities that are healthy. Sometimes people engage in substance abuse, whether it's drugs or alcohol, as a way to cope with their declining mental health. So sometimes that's a way out for people where they don't have to feel, or they feel okay for a moment in time. But while that may be okay for them short term, meaning in that moment, the problems are still there. And so it can definitely hurt our mental health long term, in that we don't have any other coping skills. It can impact our social relationships with family and friends, and it can lead to other circumstances that we may not want to be in. So that can definitely hurt our mental health. Physical ailment, when we don't feel good. So sometimes that can be a part of ongoing stress. It's one thing if we have a cold, it's another thing if, oh goodness, I'm dealing with asthma or something else, and it's just ongoing. When we don't feel good, it definitely hurts our mental health. Difficult and unrealistic expectations and beliefs. So remember how I said us having grace or giving ourselves flexibility, helping our mental health? This is essentially the opposite. So when we think I have to perform 100% all of the time, if I don't do this, I'm the worst person ever. Not allowing ourselves to be human and understanding that things don't always happen the way we want them to, that can definitely hurt our mental health, because then we put these unrealistic expectations on ourselves. And when we're not able to achieve them, then it makes us feel horrible. So, how can you tell your mental health is kind of declining? So, changes in eating and sleeping patterns. You may feel disconnected and isolated from people. You may not enjoy everyday activities anymore. Your motivation and determination may just take a nosedive. Physical changes, you may be losing a lot of weight or you may be gaining a lot of weight. You may have stomach aches. You may notice I'm having an increase in headaches. Decrease tolerance to stressors. So before, maybe, something could happen and you could bounce back. But now, when something happens, like you notice, I'm really irritated and irritable about this. And before, it wouldn't really bother me so much. There's an increase in intensity of discomforting feelings. So, what that means is me feeling sadness or me feeling anxious or me feeling irritable. That's coming and going a lot more for longer periods of time. So, where I may have felt like this maybe one day a week or once a month, now I'm feeling like this 2 to 3 days a week or almost every day. Changes in your memory and ability to focus and concentrate, increase of negative and unsafe thoughts and urges. So thinking like, I don't want to be here. I want to hurt myself. This is too much. I'm too overwhelmed to handle this. That's definitely a sign of declining mental health. So, what are some resources that are available to help our mental health? Of course, there's mental health services. So, where I work, we have clinic and school based services for Dallas Independent School District. We do evaluations. We do parent education and workshops. We do psychosocial assessments for students. We have individual, family, and group counseling. We also have, since we talked about mental health being connected to our physical health. So we have Parkland Hospital Health Services. They provide services for kids from 5 to 19, and they collaborate with us. They have health screenings, immunizations, and a lot of other resources. Okay. If you are feeling like you don't want to live and you speak to your school counselor, sometimes one of our school-based clinicians will come out to assist them. And so they also, our school-based clinicians provide emotional, social, behavioral interventions that can impact learning because, of course, when our mental health declines, it can definitely impact our learning abilities. They provide individual and group counseling, and it is more short term. And so I've attached the number here, 972-502-4190, to get more information about mental health services. And then these are general resources that we have in the community. If you are in a crisis or you're having suicidal thoughts, please contact the Suicide and Crisis Center of North Texas. Their number is listed here, 214-828-1000. Also, the North Texas Behavioral Health Authority at 1-866-260-8000. Or if you don't want to call, there's also a text line, and you can text CONNECT to 741-741. And what I like to say about this essentially is, we all have times where we don't feel okay. And so those resources are very important. So if you're not feeling okay, if you're noticing some of those signs of declining mental health, speak to a trusted and safe adult and let them know what's happening. Let them know what's going on. We want to make sure that you're okay and that you will thrive, because at the end of the day, you are worth it and you deserve it. So thank you guys for allowing me to present. I hope you guys have a good rest of the day, and I'm going to say goodbye.